Yeah, I really need to address some of these your colleagues or these guys with whom you are in the same group. Yeah. One of the reasons I abandoned mathematics and computer sciences for human rights law was and international relations was to give me a because see for 30 years that I joined this struggle and sat in there with the ambassadors and all of these doctors. They make these things so complicated. And we were always attacked as lacking of understanding of these issues. And of course, we had no knowledge about it because we had not studied any of these things, you know. And we attacked Britain, we attacked everyone else and never held ourselves responsible. We never asked ourselves, why is it that Foncha stopped the Brits from participating in a plebiscite discussion? Because Ahijo had manipulated him, and while Ahijo was receiving support from the French, it manipulated Foncha. We never questioned ourselves. And all along we had some deep gut feelings that you can't simply, be fighting a regime that believes in the use of arms with fancy words. And I remember I had a meeting with John Frundi, and we discussed these things. I said, look, Pa, we can't keep going this way. I had a meeting with Twenko, with Louis Charlot in Victoria. That was, I think, 1997, when they had, manipulated things in October. And I said, listen, we could use different methods to challenge Biya. I traveled from Bamenda to Yaoundé on their call, came there to Yaoundé, stayed at Mimi Hotel to undertake an operation to destroy the printing press, to stop the elections. I met all of these people scared. Sani Alaji, I sat with him there in a hotel, scared like shit. And they aborted that operation because John Fundu was coming to Yaoundé for a press conference and they were all scared. I left from there, went to ID Park Hotel, met Sika Asongani, sat there with him to go for the next operation. I discovered that all of these men really wanted action, but they didn't have the guts. They didn't want to leave the comfort of their homes and stay in the bush. But all of them wanted action. We went for action. When I escaped from the territory and I came out here and I said, look, I need to understand these things. I need to understand the mindset of these people. Bob guy, I started working with Bob. Everybody was thinking about survival, opening little chambers there and making all sort of little side money and dying broke. Learned people all dying broke because they settled for less. They settled for handout. They could not abandon their own chambers like Mandela did and others to stand up, to mobilize people to raise money for guns. They are there writing long episodes, lectures. Who are they lecturing? We are not 25 years ago when they had a monopoly of access to knowledge. Now there is Google. Anybody can find out things. They should shut the hell up. They should shut the hell up. They've shown themselves as inadequate. Read the Cameroon Constitution, which, some of the lawyers there are all, looking at it as, the basis of law of a country, where executive powers, override even legislative or primary legislation or even secondary legislation. President rules by decree, passes ordinances, to override primary law. He oversees the legislature, he oversees judiciary. What are they doing? They should shut up. Yeah. I've been to the bush. I've been wounded in battle. 30 years in this thing. They have nothing to show for. Nothing to show for. Apart from agitating within the system. Depart from the system, join the fighters on the ground. We should stop giving it legitimacy and sitting there and trying to lecture people that, you neither make any sacrifices or investment in the effort they are making. I will take them publicly. 2022 will be a radical departure. We break or we make. There will be no accommodation for mediocrity. There will be no accommodation for all of these nasty things that, a group of people hijack a struggle and cause chaos. All of them supported. They saw Cameroon being cloned in Ambazonia, where they can have political opportunities, financial opportunities. They attack nationalists, try to destroy everyone. Nyamfuka. The person writes with such reverence and authority. And we should do a Burkina Faso, a Tunisia. We should look at Burkina Faso, we should look at Tunisia. What was the objective? People think this thing is a movie. They think it's a movie. They should shut the hell up. The moment you take up arms in a liberation struggle, the political dynamic changes. Uprisings will be sporadic, based on incidences. You carry arms, don't think that you are still going to use the political strategy again to undermine the system in a systematic manner. Ambazonians, they should sit and listen and follow. What they want is freedom. If they have something to offer, they should provide private advice. All this ranting in public exposes their stupidity. Reading all of this narrative is stupid. Doesn't know what he's talking about. Has virtually no clue on how liberation struggles are conceived, executed, and achieved. So tell this writer that we don't need his lecture. If he is that good, he should step forward. He should stop abusing people, loyalists. They are three sets of persons within a liberation struggle. There is established leadership with loyal supporters who back them up in good times and in bad times. There is the general population that yearns for freedom. They are stakeholders that will make investment based on specific issues that movements and leaders are pursuing that suits their interests. So you should not confound all of these issues and box them up. The killing of Caroline and the killing of the people, he thinks it's simply going to transform Ambazonia into something else. When Sisiku called for an uprising on the 22nd of September, was it because someone was killed? It was not because somebody was killed. People rose up. So I really think Ambazonians, they talk a lot. I've read an entire script. It has virtually no specific references and specific examples that is context driven, that has similarity with the context that we are having. Tunisia was a political transformation, not a political revolution. If you need an uprising, you want to probably replace an existing political system. You start with an uprising in a liberation struggle to strengthen nationalism. Once you pass that stage of an uprising, you move into an armed struggle. Any uprising will be situation specific. It will not be long because there are people carrying arms. If people are not carrying arms, it may be long. You look at Syria, it was the same. The moment the uprising started, it gave way to armed resistance, uprising stopped. It came up sporadically, time and again, but, military always takes precedence over, political agitation. So, Ngia, please tell these I don't know where they are from, that I have said they should shut up. They should shut up. They make a lot of noise. They do nothing. They should raise money and raise brigades in their villages and defend those blocks. They should provide no lecture. No movement receives taxes. No movement leader is paid apart from, those sycophants that, they hail and celebrated. We will continue to engage within our means to penalize the regime, to make them make mistakes that would degrade their international personality. And we are making huge progress. 5 years into a war of liberation, we have moved the struggle from a domestic realm to an international realm. We've challenged the economic potential of the regime through ungovernability. We have delegitimized the system. They should be clapping rather than ranting all the time with no specific contribution to make to advance the struggle. If they were tough enough, I know some of them are lawyers we know within our society the cadre of people who think, they are the untouchables, who think they are the saints because they've read, law that others, don't understand. And so they have this respect. They can be bullish, arrogant, but, they should stay quiet. And if they have specific advice, they should use different channels and provide those advice, have meaningful debates, find meaningful solutions. I will not take any lecture from anybody at this stage. No lecture from anybody. You are either fighting in the bush, you are doing relevant contribution financially, you are doing mobilization, taking risk. You will not sit behind your computer and you think you can lecture people who are giving their entire life, their time, their money, and their resources. Boys have been in the bushes for 5 years. You've not been able to buy 2 guns, 3 guns, and you think you can run your mouth time and again, spot only the mistakes. When our guys in Bamenda punished the regime, you didn't see this long write-up hailing, their bravery and fighting in an urban area where you have more than 400,000 people. You didn't read these episodes of the bravery of these guys. You will only get taunting lecture, out of context lecture. That time is over. They should use that to make money for themselves in lecture halls and writing books and developing theories and best practices that other revolutions can follow. For now, we are at war. They should leave, abandon the safety of where they're hiding, go join the guys in the bush, or take leadership in some aspect and advance. Good morning, Ambazonians. This is Dr. CHO Ayaba. I want to send this rare message to our friends of the IGK. I call it rare because I think in this line of operations, you remain really focused and not be distracted by sometimes repeated insult and injuries. But I think this is very important. The other day, I was watching a movie, and I watched these 2 couples, 2 set of couples. And in one, the guy was such a jerk, so much looked down on the girlfriend, spoke to her anyhow, anyway, and anytime, without the least respect. And she always succumbed. They worked at the same bank, and even in front of colleagues, he would speak down on her. Till one day the boss pointed it out. One day at the restaurant where they went out with a group of friends, she lectured him for 2 minutes and removed her engagement ring and dropped it in front of him. He was speechless. The bully in him wallowed in misery. The girl's friends were so relieved that finally she stood up to a bully. They were so glad. It was so liberating to all of them. Even when she went home and told the mom and the sisters, they were so happy. In the other couple, it was the reverse. And this woman who had 2 kids with this man and left the guy, got married to one of the richest persons around. The guys rose up to be recognized by Forbes magazine as one of the richest persons. Despite the fact that the woman had gone, she still held sway over the man. They had 2 kids. The man had no freedom. She would call at any time, speak down on him. The friends too were worried why the man could not stand up to this bully. And this man met a lady, and this woman learned about it, called that lady, lectured her. The man learned of it and stood up for the first time like a man and told the ex-wife, listen, you never again, never would you place a call directly to me. If you need money, go to my secretary. His friends were so happy that for once, this successful guy, cowed down by the arrogance of a woman, finally stood up. You see, for the past 5 years, I have been in this situation. I have been taunted, haunted like a game by everyone, the good, the bad, the ugly. And they've sized me up. They know I will not respond because for them, they know the struggle is more important to me than to them. They know the failure of the struggle is something which is unacceptable to me. I have no choice. There is no option. You see, when we conceive policies, it's not about promoting AGOVC or Ayaba. It's about what works for our country. We look at what has worked for other liberation struggles. We think thoroughly, we debate, we argue, we quarrel. Once we finally agree, even to implement it, it would be a fight because we are looking at the best time to put in practice policy positions sometimes that have remained dormant for weeks, months. When we came to the conclusion of self-defense, it was 1995, it was not 2017. When the deaf chair made the solemn declaration to commission our forces to war, it was a phase when Cameroon had declared war on us from the tarmac of an airport. It was not meant to showcase AGOVC. It was not meant to showcase Ayaba. It had nothing to do with Sisiku. It had nothing to do with the IG. Simply had something to do with our people. We were slammed when our forces assaulted the enemy. I went on Radio France. I didn't go there to make myself known. I didn't go there to proclaim AGOVC or ADF. I went because I was questioned and I took recognition of our action to define us so we prevent the enemy from defining us. If you allow the enemy to institute a narrative on your actions, you will spend the rest of your life clarifying or defending. It was not to make ourselves popular over Sisiku. We were slammed. Even led to a letter of condolence and an apology to Yaoundé. We just kept on. I remember another operation before I moved in there. But let me finish with issues of operations. It was a Umojok operation. The Sisiku wing got wind of it. They reached out to me. Let me delay the operation so we can go in together. I said, fine. I had a long 3 hours meeting with Sisiku, hoping that we can use that operation to build some form of convergence. What I never knew was that the aim was to sabotage and frustrate the operation. And they did. I moved on. You see, my people, when we conceive policies, we don't do it for us. We do it for Amba. We do it for our country. When we object to policies of others, we do it for Amba. And we object with reasonable alternatives. Reasonable alternatives. When we objected the early romance with the Swiss, which was not based on, a kind of a framework for negotiation that is acceptable, that is construed as best practice. We explained ourselves. We provided an alternative, which has stood the test of time. When we opposed La République's romance in Yaoundé with Sisiku, had nothing to do with Sisiku. He's a prisoner. So if La République comes knocking, he can't simply just run away. You talk. We opposed its outcome because it defeated a key pillar of our strategy to move the battlefield on negotiation from where La République reigns supreme, which is domestic jurisdiction, to an international sphere which they cannot manipulate and frustrate. So when we put out policies, we expect others to criticize. We expect others to be frustrated about it. But when we define our policy as that of national liberation and define our actions as that of arrest and define our actions as that of self-defense, and you issue an apology and a message of condolence and what you call them kidnapping, you are enabling the enemy to define the narrative of a key actor within the national liberation space. Now let the IGK know the following. Dr. Samuel Sako is their creation. The divisiveness in this struggle is not that of the Sakos. The Sakos are a beneficiary of the divisiveness created by the IGK. The solemn desire to hijack a multi-party platform and use foreign troops to throw out participants and install yourself as president of our country and then go on a rampage on everyone else who opposed it is the foundation of the division that we have today. So many were hurt, disenfranchised. You see Poundful? You see Tassan? They are victims of an entitlement leadership. They don't love Sako. The Sakos are a fallback to them. Their vote for Sako is not really for the Sakos. It's a vote against the leadership of the IGK. You see all of those morons who fall into the arms of La République du Cameroon? They have been pushed into the arms of the enemy by the entitlement politics of the IGK leadership. Now, in my hotel in Lagos, where I met with Sisiku, I offered him the opportunity to be elected as our leader. And I offered him my services to speak to others so that that happens. He failed to take that offer. His advisors told him, remember what Ayijo did in 1966 when he obliged all other political parties to self-dissolve and integrate. You can get away with that. You see, it is one thing to sit in Mutengene, sleep overnight and dream you are in bed with Beyonce. It is quite another thing to get up in the morning and challenge Jay-Z to that. You must build a media empire. You must be successful. You must show hard work. What we are faced today with is the failure of good people to do something that has given the opportunity for evil to continue to triumph. After my offer to Sisiku, I have still offered in the past year the opportunity for either a joint leadership or alternate leadership. That document was framed by Professor Kasim Anyangwe. We have never received a response. This is their strategy, the strategy of the IGK. They know Dr. Sako is so battered image-wise. They know what he instituted in South Africa against me had battered my image. Their hope, when they always link us, they say the problem in this struggle is the AGOFC and the IG of the Sako. Their hope is to continuously batter the image of Dr. Ayaba and the AGOFC to the extent where Ambazonians will have no choice than to fall in their usurpation and entitlement of Zaria after independence. You listened to BBC Manchu the other day? I want all of you to read some of the scripts Akwanga wrote while he was in jail. I want some of you to read some of the script Mandela wrote while he was in jail. You know why Siseko is so smart and walks a fine line? It is in preparation for the throne. Now, in the past days, we have lost I've basically buried about so many wounded. When you go through this and you find people sit quietly, go on SCBC and talk trash and ask you whether you have legitimacy. You have legitimacy to die, to bury men. You don't have legitimacy to institute policies that can make sure those men stay alive. The IGK is one of the most stupid organizations I've ever seen in the world. How could such an organization lose such a political capital given to them on a platter of gold when they overthrew the multi-party platform in Zaria and installed themselves? Look at the political capital given to them by most of you. Blank check. They lost it. Why? Arrogance. Political organizations that succeed, and I tell the AGOFC this also. I've told communicators of the AGOFC that their biggest problem is the notion of triumphalism and self-righteousness. When you are in power, you must exercise the greatest humility on earth. That is why when the AGOFC is powerful, I instantly reach out for us to work together. When we are weak or perceived weak, I recoil to build the organization. And I always tell AGOFC communicators, when you are powerful, don't attack, don't ridicule, don't ask others where they are fighting. Ambazonia belongs to all. It will not be ruled by those who are fighting. It will be ruled by a choice of individuals who can move us forward in period of governance. The reason the IGK has become a shadow of itself, splintered into so many factions, women group here, women group there, refugee groups here, this one there, is because of stupidity. How do you explain that their leader sits in jail in the best position to become our first president? They have somebody like myself and the AGOC in the best position to make liberation possible. They don't make a compromise. How do you explain that? How do you explain the fact that the only organization that can give you independence, you slander it because you want the presidency? How will you get the presidency without independence? What does it take for them to play smart, knowing that there is 90% chance for me to be killed? There is 90% chance that Sisiku survives. How stupid can you be to have lost such a blank check given to you on a platter of gold with no effort, no work, just propaganda? In the media arm, we are from SCBC, ABC, now ABS. In the political arm, we are IG impostors. We are moving to the third. You have splinter groups here, splinter groups there. I want them to check out history. If they check out history, they will never have this sense of entitlement. Check who was the first president of East Timor. Check it out. Zanana, rebel leader. Check Eritrea. Who was the first president and who still? Afeti, rebel leader. Check South Sudan. Who was the first? You think because you run some propaganda called IGK, you are going to enthrone yourself to the presidency? Let me tell you today, since I was born, I have never thought of leading anything. I was simply a disruptor to organize criminality against peace-loving people. I became Secretary General of the SCYA by accident. I became President of AGOC by accident. I'm so scared of leadership because I don't know how to manage myself. I can start agitating against my own leadership. Even when I became president, I wore my jeans along because I always hated men in suit. I saw them in Yaoundé in the parliament making stupid laws. I hated suit. My staff would tell me, wear a tie, I was so confused. I have to shave. I have to look a certain way. I have to walk a certain way. I'm a rebel. You people are the ones who have even made my brain to think that from the relative obscurity of the Ayaba family, I can rise up to a position of leadership of a country. Never dreamt of it. Never dreamt of it. Let me send you people of the IGK bad news. If you ever think by some magic Sisiku will become president of Ambazonia, know it today. There are only two possibilities that will happen. Two possibilities. One, it is that the liberal world murders all the nationalists as they have done in most liberation struggles and usher in liberalists that will continue to perpetuate the neoliberal marketization doctrine that defeats economic independence and give you political independence that they have usurped. That's one way. The second possibility is that Ambazonians duly elect him through the instruments of power that we have put in place. Take note today, those are the two possibilities that will happen. If it doesn't happen, he will never become president through the method that you think, that you will attack and degrade the A Gov C and delegitimize every other person to the point where he will jump ahead to the throne. It will be a declaration of World War III. Listen to me today carefully. We can add one more year on this liberation fight. None of those people you have put out there for the past 5 years to taunt me, to taunt the organization I lead, can stand me in the same room. I do not shut up because I'm stupid. I shut up because you need chaos to prevail. You need chaos for La Republic to prevail. We will work together. I know you will be surprised, but I'll tell you why. When a mother sits in a kitchen or a father is there sitting in the kitchen cooking and the baby is screaming, there is something called a pacifier. They call it baby shut up. We put it in the child's mouth in exchange for peace. That is why I offered Sisiku leadership. Not because he has what it takes to move us from this position to independence. I knew if we rallied behind him, we will all as a people become effective. We offered a pacifier in exchange for peace for one day to prosecute this liberation. We did same to Sako, offer him a pacifier. It's the same pacifier that took us to Toronto. Sit with everyone. Hope to God Almighty they shut up. They have their entitlement. They have even their presidency in exchange for our freedom. If it is because you have something like a strategy in diplomacy, in war to add, you've got nothing. Get it from me today. You've got nothing other than chaos that you've offered our people. Death and destruction, uncertainty on a daily basis. You cannot show in the past 4 years a block that you've lost men in its defense. You've diverted resources in lunatic operations of refugees here, prisoners there. That is civil society work, not liberation leadership work. Learn from me today. I am this couple who for once had the courage to stand up to bullies. This is Dr.